and the person was in California and I guess moved to Colorado, and said the same thing happened in various states, that they were using people to move to different places and drive out the people who were living there before. And the people talking to me are offended because the person used the phrase illegal alien foreigners. And here's what I'm saying. I can't understand how people committing a crime using technology that makes me sick can then judge words. When I was growing up, I always like to tell you what Gen X learned when we were growing up. We learned the old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. So they get really upset because they call me the N-word, which is very offensive. But I rather them see me as a Black person than whatever weird race they tried to make me in order. At one point, they said that they wanted to do that because they felt that in certain countries I would be passable as non-Black. Now, why would I want to pass as non-Black? I don't understand anything they're telling me, which is partly why when they were saying they couldn't get my synthetic telepathy, they said I tend to say me a lot because what I'm doing when I'm interacting with them is trying to separate myself from them. They said they didn't like that us versus them thing because it's supposed to be a cult. I'm supposed to be with them. So we're supposed to have this group speak where we all speak alike. We police each other's language because language is a bad thing. And I didn't grow up that way. And I know a lot of the people involved in this were never taught to be that way. So I want to know who taught them this language police thing where, words can be like a harmful thing, which stops speech and it stops freedom of speech. And I've been talking about this on this channel for a long time. That is how people who grew up in countries where they couldn't speak freely were trained to think that if you say the wrong thing, you can get arrested. If you say the wrong thing, they can get you. In the US, we weren't taught that. We were taught the opposite, which is that words, people can, say words can't harm you. Speak up. Don't keep secrets. We were taught to be that. And when they're trying to argue with me, then I can tell right away, they didn't grow up here because we were taught to speak freely, say our opinions. If you have an opinion that someone doesn't like, that's their issue. That's not your issue. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that they had a problem with this comment because it said illegal alien foreigners. They just said something about, am I supposed to be a Democrat? Again, it's not a cult. I'm not in a cult. I'm not in a Democratic cult. I have the freedom to believe what I want to believe as a Democrat. This is my point. If this is what they're teaching people, then this is wrong. So anyway, okay, I'm going to let them speak. I was trying to have a conversation. They're speaking all over it. I'm saying one thing. I'm yelling over what they're talking in the background. They're getting things confused. They're confusing me. And they're like, well, in your videos, when you misspeak, well, it's because they're talking over me. That trick only worked. That was one of the mind games. And I just wanted to say, I'm going to try to remember to do a series of mind games. That was the mind game that if I mess up while this is happening to me, they said they're going to be able to take a record of it and sue me and take me to court. So that was they did years of that mind game. So the mind game was, if you make one mistake, they used to say something like, if you make one mistake, then this, always a threat. And that's how this mind game worked, that they could threaten me, that if I put this comment up and I'm going against the Democrats, I'm not really a good Democrat. That's the mind game. That if you do something wrong, you're not a good person. You did something wrong, and we're gonna hold this against you all your life. So when they were saying like, I messed up the song lyrics to the song Billie Jean, but now they say it might not have been Billie Jean, it could have been Thriller. So now we're not sure which song I messed up the song lyrics to. And they just said, no, it wasn't that I messed up the song lyrics. It's because at about 8 or 9, I was so quote unquote adamant about the song lyrics. But then they just said, no, it turns out I was actually right and they had to change it. Do you get what I'm saying? That's how it would be. I just want to make sure I tell you the mind game. The mind game is if at 8 or 9 I made a mistake about a song lyric, which I did not, and they even keep telling them she didn't make up the lyrics. She wasn't wrong. She was right. She was adamant because she was right, which should have gone in the personality assessment of me being someone who is not going to fall for peer pressure. That should have been in the personality trait of someone who is going to stay true to what she believes in. And when I say the word me, meaning I have a strong sense of self, instead it went into the personality assessment. I'm too adamant when I'm wrong. That wasn't what happened, but that was the goal they wanted it to be, that I have to think I'm wrong. I have to think at 8 or 9, I have to go along with what someone tells me because I'm only an 8 or 9-year-old. But at 52, I have to keep being reminded of their mistake, not my mistake, their mistake as part of this. So that was the mind game. The mind game is that I have these personality traits that I've had all my life, and I'm always wrong, and I'm always adamant. I can't go along with the group. The complete programming of children that they would have done if I didn't have the right people in my life at the time who were like, she didn't make a mistake. This is what it was. Stop bringing it up. Let's move on. That's the whole mindset of these people. So I'm just going to let you listen to them, see what they're talking about, and then go over another mind game. Okay, so as you guys who know that this is happening can hear the talking, they made a threat and hopefully someone called the police. They said they did. So hopefully someone did call the police. I can tell that I'm not online. And at this point, this is what I was saying. This was meant to take everything that I was doing and destroy it. So they can then say, "Oh, you didn't do this. You didn't work hard enough." That's part of the racism. When we're talking about, the person left the comment saying that they're threatened by Black women, that's sort of the end of the comment. When we're talking about sabotaging everything, sabotaging where I live, sabotaging my body, sabotaging my mind, sabotaging my memory, sabotaging my YouTube channel, sabotaging my eBay business, everything, sabotaging every single thing I try to do. I try to do this, they sabotage. I try to do that, they sabotage it. You can't do any more than to just expose it and how it's done in the mind game that's involved. They just said that these were the tricks used on them. No, they weren't. They weren't. And I don't understand how can people who seem to have the power to do something wrong not get that you would have the power to fight back. Why do you guys have to play the victim? So they say I'm a narcissist. They consider me a narcissist because I'm pointing out what they're doing. They keep quoting, there was a show years ago. I can't remember which show, but the person was talking about the me's. And they're like, well, that's what I sound like. Or they said, no, don't say that because that person committed suicide. That's what I'm talking about. Do you get what I'm saying? They're saying something that they know is connected to something. And instead of reporting it to the police or talking about it in that way, they're talking about someone who committed suicide, which is what they said. Earlier today, they said they want to drive me to try to commit suicide again. Then they said, no, she never tried to commit suicide. That's what I'm talking about. That behind this sabotage of me that's being done publicly is this nasty evilness that has to be exposed. They threatened to assassinate someone. They said today, they were like, today you didn't say stay on alert. We just made a threat. They wanted to keep that feeling where it's like constant stress. Someone left a great comment about how that attack, just not just the physical pain and the physical attacks, but the mental stress and those attacks can just kill you over time. So this was meant to cause me to try to commit suicide. And when I said it before, it was like, they said they would cut me off if I'm saying the wrong thing. They didn't cut me off. They just said it again today. And when they keep bringing up the me's, it's to remind me that the person who said that ended up, I don't know if she committed suicide or attempted to commit suicide, but it was a female. And I don't remember the show, but that goes to prove that's what they're trying to do. And they can't admit it to themselves that they had this whole big thing they just talked about, how they rather kill people than deal with people who don't believe the same things they believe. So when we're talking about the people running this program who tried to say that anytime I'm doing or saying the wrong thing, they're just going to cut me off. And I said, that's how they are. They don't want to hear anything. So when they're talking about me as a child being adamant, they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear it. And that's why they had the problems they had. It had nothing to do with them being in this program. It had to do because they don't want to hear anything. You talk to them and they don't want to hear it. And I'm telling them this. It had nothing. No one was sabotaging you. You guys are the ones in power and control. You can cut me off when you don't want to hear what I have to say. So it had nothing to do with people sabotaging you. You're the ones with the power and the control, but you don't want to hear anyone who disagrees with you. So I should, according to you, try to commit suicide because I'm in this program that you put me in. Someone said, if by keeping myself alive, I'm going against them or something along those lines. And then they want to take credit for the sticks and stones. That's something I've been saying all along, that words don't harm. The more people talk, the better. They want to argue that. And that's partly this. They want to take over what I'm doing. But that's what I'm telling them. That's part of their mind game. The mind game is, I'm doing something and they want credit. So we're going to take over what you're doing. You talk about Gen X saying things we grew up with, so I'm going to say it before you. Does that sound like a sane person? Does that sound like somebody who wants to hear what I have to say? No, it goes to show that's what they're doing. They want to take over. So if the saying we grew up with, that's such a common saying, I mean, everyone said sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never harm you. It was such a common saying. So if they're saying it and they're saying, well, I'm repeating them, I'm not. But if that's what we have to do to expose how this would work in the mind game, that's what we have to do. The other point I want to make before I finish this video with mind games is that when people are in control and they make a decision to do something, they have to realize that there will be people who disagree. We don't all agree to the same things or agree about the same things. People will disagree. So in order to stop us from disagreeing, they're just going to cut us off. They're going to recommend that we commit suicide. I mean, I don't understand how this was supposed to work for them. Was this just supposed to be something where nobody disagrees with them? Everyone just sits back and just smiles. They said I'm always smiling all the time, which is a lie because they then said I'm bitchy. I'm a smiling bitch. I don't understand what they're talking about. They just don't make any sense. But that's what they want. They want to not make any sense, sit around talking all the time, saying crazy stuff, and have no one argue with them. There's the mind game. Thank you for listening.